Canadian banks are monitoring financial activity very closely and taking action as necessary. And the consequences on them and on their families will be significant if they choose to continue with this illegal activity. Dictatorship, that he could do everything he wanted.
I remember when I lost my mind.
So what you just saw at the top there was Justin Trudeau threatening the families and the children of the people that are participating in the protest. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it. Before we get really going, hit the like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We've seen some very good growth, especially with the one video that's almost at like 2,000 views, which is awesome for a channel this size. It got into the algorithm, it exploded, and then YouTube took it down under a bogus claim, and I simply just harassed YouTube until they put it back up because they couldn't provide a timestamp for the thing that they claimed had happened because it didn't happen. And that's what you have to do. To do that, you have to fight against the BS, and that's what these truckers have been doing so well, and very proud of them for doing so, even when the city of Ottawa called for a state of emergency, did a video on that, and then Ontario did it. And it's interesting to see that these politicians claim that they're following the advice of the medical experts when videos like this exist. We'll let Doug Ford and the medical health specialists describe everything for you.
Frank, there's no politician in this country who's going to disagree with their chief medical officer. They just aren't going to do it. They might as well throw a rope around their neck and jump off a bridge. They're done. I'm telling you the facts. It's very simple.
I don't know why I bring all these papers. I never look at them.
Oh, when you're giving numbers, I do. I go, oh. I did that. Did you really do that?
I just say whatever they write down for me.
That's fine. Okay.
Don't you just love a hot mic? That's why you gotta make sure that the microphone, that it's on, or it's not on, or it's off, or it's on, and just because you're book smart doesn't mean you're street smart. Speaking of not being smart, Justin Trudeau, that thing at the very beginning, like I addressed, was part of a much larger thing where he, people talk about changing the rules as you go. He's basically saying that now protesting is illegal.
If you joined the protests because you're tired of COVID, you now need to understand that you are breaking laws. The consequences are becoming more and more severe. You don't want to end up losing your license, end up with a criminal record, which will impact your job, your livelihood, even your ability to travel internationally, including to the US. We've heard your frustration with COVID, with the measures that are there to keep people safe. We've heard you. It's time to go home now.
Getting the police to go in there and start arresting people. That's why they declared the state of emergency, so that they could break up peaceful protests. It's amazing that it was so peaceful that they couldn't even manipulate it in the media to make it seem like it was some violent, looting and rioting. It's crazy because they did the exact opposite in the summer of 2020 with the BLM protests, with a burning building literally right behind the guy, and him going like, these protests, they've been mostly peaceful, they've been really behaving themselves, with a burning building right behind them. They couldn't even manipulate it the opposite way around. They tried, so they did the stuff with the photo shoot, which is the big video. If you haven't seen the fake photo shoot video, go and check it out. That was allegedly the video that I violated terms and conditions. Nice try. Got me out of the algorithm, though. So I guess you won the battle, but I'm going to win the war. So you can see Trudeau in this also. He brings up something very interesting about what's going on behind the scenes.
That politicians don't direct police in a democratic society, but I can assure you that the RCMP is working with provincial and local police departments to enforce the law. Everything is on the table. Canadian banks are monitoring financial activity very closely and taking action as necessary. Canadian banks are monitoring financial activity very closely and taking action as necessary. Canadian banks are monitoring financial activity very closely and taking action as necessary.
And this goes back to all the GoFundMe stuff where everyone was like, what GoFundMe is doing is what your banks are going to be doing. How are the banks monitoring stuff and taking appropriate action? It's not illegal to just give money to somebody else. I can e-transfer people money all I fucking want until I have no money left. Then it's up to me to cover overdraft fees at that point, as per the contract I signed with, for example, TD Bank or CIBC or RBC or BMO, right? But now the banks, at the request of the government, are saying, well, if there's any big transfers there, you make sure you flag it and then we'll steal the money. It's amazing how fast we got here. It's amazing how fast we got here. But Trudeau is so terrified. And he's just somebody who just insults the intelligence of anyone with half a brain, because he's so driven by his own personal agenda. And he talked about, the racism and all that stuff. But then there was counter protesters who had signs like this. And I don't know what you would think when you saw people, with that kind of a flag or that kind of a sign. Maybe it was like the counter protest to the counter protest. That's very possible. It's very possible. Just like the Confederate flag thing was phony. That could be just some person like trying to discredit the counter protesters. I'm open to anything, but as long as we're going to pretend like the Confederate flag wasn't that, then we can't pretend, Justin, pro-mandators, Trudeau dick suckers out there, that this isn't true either. So, very disturbing, because there are people that genuinely believe that, like Noam Chomsky, who flat out said that he's totally okay with starving unvaccinated people to death.
What would that look like on a practical level? Does that mean that folks need to just stay home and have groceries delivered to them?
Same way as with people who say that I don't want to accept traffic rules. Suppose there were people who said it's an attack on my liberty to make me stop at a red light. It's government overreach. I don't want the state to have that power over my private life. Well, such people they should have the decency to remove themselves from the community. If they refuse to do that, then measures have to be taken to safeguard the community from them. Then comes the practical question that you ask. How can we get food to them? Well, that's actually their problem. Of course, if they really become destitute, then yes, you have to move in with some measure to secure their survival, just as you do with people in jail, for example. How can we get food to them? Well, that's actually their problem, just as you do with people in jail, for example. How can we get food to them? Well, that's actually their problem.
Those progressives, they really banked a lot on Chomsky, and now he's starting to show that he's just, like everyone else, just a scared old man who hasn't cut his hair in 3.5 years. Even I did my beard. Oh, look at that. All nice and even. I don't get the over, whatever. But I really just want people to keep the same energy for everything, because there's a lot of people that are going they're spoiled and they don't take care. Okay, well, I guess then everyone who's ever protested anything is just spoiled, because, the rules are the rules. The rules are the rules. But with threats of arrest and everything, that's typical of what authoritarian dictatorships do. They arrest the people that are descendant? Is that what? Descendant? Dissonant? Dissonant. Yeah. Dissonant. They arrest the people that are dissonant, and that's how they quell protests and how they maintain power. They propagandize them, and then they just arrest them, and then they make them disappear, aka the Hong Kong protesters. Whatever happened to them? Oh yeah, COVID hit at the perfect time. Originated in China, where China was being protested by Hong Kong. And what a happy coincidence that was for the dictatorship over there. A dictatorship, by the way, that Justin Trudeau himself has said that he admired, because I admire the basic dictatorship
they have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start, investing in solar. I mean, there is a flexibility that I know Stephen Harper must dream about, of having a dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted. That I find quite interesting. Dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted. That I find quite interesting.
That's a fuckhead. He's a fucking idiot. And you're an idiot for supporting him. If you voted for him, you're an idiot. Doug Ford actually had really good advice for people that support Trudeau. He just said it in a way, he just said it about politicians who don't listen to their medical health people. Go back to the beginning and you'll know what I'm talking about. Oh, I'm an asshole. But you know what? I've had to sit here and I've had to go on Twitter and I've had to be on Instagram and just see people be assholes to me. So why do I have to be nice? Why do I have to be nice anymore? I don't need to be nice. I really don't need to be nice. And I think that's the problem. Is that people think they can nice their way into getting corrupt authoritarians to do what's right. If you're just really nice to them, then they'll do it. They'll give up their power. You don't have to make them uncomfortable or anything like that. Ugh. No, you don't gotta do that. No, you don't need to do that. But here's the funny part of it all is that when you do that, they just get up and they run away. Sometimes, and in Justin Trudeau's case, literally run away.
Member for Foothills.
Canadians, including a senior member of the Liberal caucus, are speaking loud and clear.
I'm going to have to ask the honourable member for Foothills to stop while his members on his side are heckling him. So I'll let him continue now. The honourable member for Foothills.
Canadians, including senior members of the Liberal caucus, are speaking loud and clear. Canadians are looking for pandemic leadership. Canadians are standing up right now, grabbing this moment in our history, because they know there is something fundamentally wrong when a Prime Minister refuses to listen.
Now, I know he doesn't want to hear the other side of anything, but I mean, like, dude, can you be a little less obvious? Like, the guy is falling apart, and I love it, But I think that where he went to go run to was for his comfort. And we all know what Justin Trudeau takes great comfort in, and that's why I take so much great pride in my outros. By saying, Justin, I hope you got all the comfort you needed with that giant dick you shoved up your ass. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, leave your comments, share the videos, do all the good YouTube-y stuff. Peace.
And the consequences on them and on their families will be significant if they choose to continue with this illegal activity. Dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted. That I find quite interesting.
That